Ladies and gentlemen, we are back down under the mat here in Madison Square Garage around the pool table of relevancy. To my left, Mr. Dan Danielson. To my right, the Viking experience himself, Josh. And I am Rowdy Roddy Reece. We're here to do our review of AEW Revolution. Dan, I'm going to hand over to you. We're going to discuss the pre-show first.
Are we?
0 hour, as AEW likes to call it.
Okay, I wasn't prepared for this.
Oh,
For the whole 0 hour part of it. But let's have a quick look-sees, all right? So on the pre-show, so there was a whole bunch of stuff that was announced on Collision the night before, which meant nobody knew it was actually happening.
Yeah, correct.
Because none of us here watch Collision. So we found out very late.
One time we were in attendance.
True, but that was Grand Slam, really.
It wasn't really Collision though, was it?
So the first match was Commander and Hologram. I've heard of both of those wrestlers, right?
It does
I know
help.
who they are.
Foreshadowing for later.
Defeated Lee Johnson and Blake Christian. Cool story. Don't care about the rest of the match. Don't even know who those guys are. It was fine. Then there was a massive waste of space, and this is one thing that I did want to discuss with this, the fact that we've got an 8-man tag match on the pre-show, which was Daniel Garcia, your TNT champion,
who's been very scarce on TV lately,
feuding with Adam Cole, who he teamed up with for the 8-man tag. So it was Garcia and the Undisputed Kingdom against Shane Taylor Promotions. And look, I've never cared once about Shane Taylor Promotions. They're all quite good in the ring,
has.
but I just never care. So that was a bit of a nothing match. It really pretty much was there to set up a Cole and Garcia feud.
Yeah.
But like, it feels really bad for me that you had Adam Cole headlining All In London, Wembley a couple of years ago with MJF, and now he's doing an 8-man tag match pre-show for Revolution.
Yeah. The day after he saves Daniel Garcia from getting a beatdown, who he's meant to be in a feud with.
Yeah, a little bit sad to see.
Very weird.
Yeah.
Then there was meant to be a Chris Jericho Ring of Honor title match against...
This was around the time that we showed up today.
You showed up for this. I can't remember the dude's name.
There's some guy in a mask.
It was Gravity. That's right. Because Chris,
I'm just trying to look at the screen.
Yeah.
Did they not even list it?
No, it's not even listed on the Wikipedia page because it never happened.
Wikipedia.
Because they stopped the match early because it was obviously the learning tree went in.
Beatdown and a demasking.
Yeah, which was a bit brutal in front of his mum.
Yeah.
So if you didn't know, Gravity, who I said that I made a joke over the weekend that Chris Jericho lost to Gravity many years ago. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Demasked him in front of his brother because his older brother is Bandito. And so he's been feuding, the learning tree been feuding with Bandito. That's
Okay.
why.
So this is why Gravity got a title match, because
That
it was
makes
Bandito's
sense.
brother.
Yep, pretty much.
Yep.
So that was a whole thing. And
See what happens when we educate ourselves? We understand the stories.
not a lot. But then the highlight of the pre-show of the 0 hour that everybody was here to see. My mate Orange Cassidy coming out with the stupid goddamn fucking Rizzler dressed up like Orange Cassidy.
Oh, terrible. I won't do it. I'm not doing it. I can't.
Yeah. I have the cheeks to do it. It's fine. So yeah, there was the trios match of Big Boom AJ. Reece, can you do that one for me? Because you're the expert at that one. And the conglomeration. OC and Mark Briscoe beat Johnny TV and MXM.
Which is a damn shame because MXM hilariously entertaining.
Oh, they really are.
Apart from every time that Johnny TV had to make out with his wife really graphically on TV.
Oh, that was stomach turning.
It was,
Not the best thing to have on TV.
I get they're trying to get heel heat for it, but
Yeah, look, that's not
just
heel
go
heat.
away
That's
heat.
just gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that was the pre-show. If you didn't watch any of it,
Did you miss much?
don't worry about it. It's fine. It wasn't even an old Rampage episode. It was pretty terrible.
Rampage.
Quite forgettable.
Then we start the pay-per-view.
Yes.
First match on the card.
Mr. Opening Man himself,
Yep.
You get your
MJF.
you don't get MJF first. You get your old Hangman music, and everyone gets a big pop for Hangman.
Oh,
Yeah.
the crowd did pop.
Good
that
troll.
one pretty
Good
big.
troll.
Yeah.
Loved it.
And it was actually MJF.
It was so well done as well because you had the little graphics up above the ring, and then it slowly faded to the tartan that he uses, and then his music hit.
Yep.
Amazing.
This went 19 minutes. What were your highlights? What are your notes, Reece? Because you take
Pretty
notes.
early on in the match, MJF hit a power bomb onto his knee to Hangman Adam
yes.
Page, right onto his lower back. That looked absolutely brutal.
That wasn't even the worst part of it. It was the way that his neck
he's
hit the mat
because he
with
hit
that one.
so far on his lower back. His neck just crunched right on the mat. The tombstone on the chair outside, great spot.
Yep.
There was no pinfall attempt because it was on the outside, so we didn't get to rage about a tombstone on a chair being kicked out of.
We'll rage about pile drivers later. Don't worry about that.
Yes.
But not only that, did you notice all the marks on the back of Hangman after he hit that chair as well?
Yeah.
Ran all across the shoulder blades. You could tell it was hard.
Really rough.
I think the key to this sort of match was, the feud and the build-up has been really good. The promos between the two of them has been really, really strong. And I genuinely don't think they like each other because this was very stiff.
It really did seem like it. I'll be the first one to admit I don't watch a huge amount of AEW. That was the one match that I actually kept an eye on in the lead up to Revolution. Amazing.
Yeah, they did a really good job leading up to that match.
Yeah, the storytelling that they were able to pull off.
Yeah,
fantastic.
The really pivotal part of that match, when it was coming towards the end of the match, where MJF was like, "Why did they choose you and not me? Why not me?" And you could see his insecurities coming out in such a vile, vitriol
it's all his
sense.
ego.
Yeah, you could
his
see
ego
the
just
pain
got
on
too
his
big
face.
for himself, and he was just like, "Why is everyone choosing you over me? I'm better than you, and I know it."
Yeah, and I mean, there was lots of good spots towards the end. There was the play that they did, was it on the Dynamite, where they did the reversal from the Heat Seeker into the buckshot, and then they did buckshots in this one, and there was pile drivers left, right, and center. It was a really good match, and I think one of the key things to me is that this seems to be the same time of year every year where MJF remembers or tells everybody that he's actually a really good wrestler. Hey, I can talk a lot of shit, I can do great promos, but I can actually really wrestle in the ring. And this was a really good match from his perspective.
Yeah.
Putting Hangman over, obviously, because he won at the end, and I think that's maybe the right decision to continue this because MJF was up 1-0.
Yeah, 1-1 apiece now. So you've definitely got the
We're getting
ability.
that rubber match.
Yeah, you got the ability to work that into some future storylines later. The finishing was the Deadeye into the Angel's Wings and then the Buckshot Lariat to get that 1, 2, 3.
There it wasn't the powerbomb on the outside. There was some move where MJF kind of just dropped Hangman on the outside. And that was a really stiff landing for him right in front of the announcer's desk.
Yeah,
and then I felt it wasn't a receipt, but the Angel's Wings on MJF.
He
just dropped him straight on his face with that one. It was brutal.
That one looked like it hurt. But look, like you said, great opening match. It's what MJF does. If he's not finishing the pay-per-view, he's starting it.
Yeah, and he puts on an absolute banger.
Yeah, and look, he started the pay-per-view off to a tremendous start with that match too.
And we then unfortunately move into the Mercedes Moné match.
I just remembered the next match. I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah. And if you're no stranger to this podcast, you know we're not overly thrilled about Mercedes Moné 90% of the time. And pretty sure that continued today with her match against Momo Watanabe.
You mean Io Sky off Wish?
Dan said it, not me.
Yep.
I stand by it. I'm sure she's great in Stardom and New Japan, and that's good for her. But it just felt like, hey, we don't have anybody in AEW to wrestle Mercedes this month. Can we borrow somebody?
Like dozens of women backstage.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that I wanted to complain about the pre-show that I didn't. Harley Cameron, who had a title shot against Mercedes Moné at Grand Slam, I didn't get it was in Australia a couple of weeks ago, has now been relegated to running in to stop Johnny TV and Tyra Valkyrie kissing as part of the pre-show.
So that's going to be her next match against Tyra.
She did us all a service. None of us wanted to see that again anyway.
I know, but she was battling for the title, and now you've got to Stardom to get some other random person to lose to
She did
Mercedes.
win on Collision though, so she got another W in that column.
We already discussed nobody to watch his Collision, man.
I know, but W's in columns matter in AEW.
Not if you talk to
Don't they?
Asuka. She doesn't listen to
They
Cage
don't at
Match.
all.
She doesn't care.
Look, I did not take a lot of notes from this match. My main note was Mercedes sucks, so that kind of gives you the whole idea on how I felt about this match.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a terrible match. I don't have a lot of interest in Mercedes, so I didn't pay too much
Yeah.
attention.
I wasn't overly invested in the match at all. No.
And the crowd was flat.
Yeah. It was just another Mercedes Moné match. Unfortunately, it had to follow from MJF and Hangman, and it just couldn't live up to the way that match went.
Nah, absolutely not. And with how that match went opening, it was very hard to follow that. And I don't think that was the right spot on the card for Mercedes to get a decent reaction from the crowd because they weren't even interested in booing her, really.
Yeah,
No,
they just kind of
Very
tuned out.
quiet crowd all around.
And I don't think anyone was invested in Momo either because she was on top of the match for 85% of it until Mercedes buried her at the end with a one move and a submission. But no one was really caring about about her moves and her. I can't think of what I was trying to say.
No, I get you.
No one got behind
because
her.
like we discussed it, like when the match finished, it was like Mercedes was fighting from under for a good 5 to 10 minutes of that match towards the end, and she gets a slight comeback, hits the backstabber, locks in the submission, almost gets her to tap out. She hits the Monet Maker, locks in the submission again, and then wins the match. And it's just
Which is a real shame because, to be honest, Momo actually led that match really, really
Yeah, she was
well.
good.
Yeah.
Just no one cared.
Yeah.
for some of my first experience with Momo, I thought she did great. Hopefully get to see some more of her at some point. Maybe not against Mercedes.
Yeah, go watch some Stardom. I'm sure the matches will be better over there.
Yeah.
They probably know how to book.
I did
women.
notice Momo's a little stiff in some areas, but I feel like that's just the
Some of the
Joshi
kicks.
style. Yeah.
That's
just
that's,
the Joshi style.
That's the Japanese style with a lot of the way that they do things. Super stiff with a lot of stuff.
Match 3 on the card. We get our number 1 contenders match for the AEW title, which may or may not headline who you think is going to win the end of it. Swerve Strickland with Prince Nana versus Ricochet for the number 1 contendership and for the jacket, which Ricochet has now stitched his logo onto.
Yes. He did say on Dynamite that he got some alterations while they were doing their contract signing.
I was expecting to be something Philadelphia Eagles. He's done everything Philly all the way up in the lead up.
I was
for
expecting
hats
Yeah,
and
it would've been
jerseys and
pretty
stuff,
good.
and-
Yeah, I was expecting him to just absolutely butcher the jacket, but I'm sure they did some sort of respect to it by just putting a patch on the back
I'm sure
of
it's a
Ricochet's logo.
replica jacket.
It would
too.
have to be a replica. There's no way they would have done that to the original.
Yeah. Great start to the match. Lots of finisher attempts right off the bat. Lots of dodging, which is really good. These competitors know each other very well. Nana walked out very early after being shoved by Swerve Strickland.
Yes.
And that was a little bit of a surprise. And Dan hinted at the fact that this might be where Swerve gets Prince Nana turning on him.
Didn't happen.
It
Unfortunately.
would have been nice to see, though.
Yeah.
Like, it was definitely an interesting concept to actually have Nana turn on Swerve during the match right at the end.
Yeah, and I think him walking out was kind of like the start of it, I
Yes,
guess.
had everyone guessing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to happen.
And then obviously there was the confusion on the outside where they were pushing and shoving each other. The match itself was pretty good. There were some really good spots, obviously, between Ricochet and Swerve. They are really good together, the two of them.
Absolutely.
As much as we shit on Ricochet for his promo and stuff skills, in the ring, he's always really good. Like, we've
top
never really
quality.
had problems with that. So the match itself was really fun. I was taken out of it a couple of times because the whole point was for Nana to get his jacket back, and the jacket was just hanging over one of the turnbuckles from the start of the match. I was like, just grab it, bro. If you're going to walk out the back and leave, just grab your jacket and go.
It did come into play a little later in the match after Swerve hit a vertebreaker to Ricochet on the announce table,
On the Spanish announce table.
and the table did not buckle. Very vicious there.
It did not even move. That thing was solid.
Yeah, Nana comes back out, and then, as Dan alluded to, grabs the robe off the turnbuckle. Ricochet comes out, takes out Prince Nana, puts the robe on, gets back in the ring, and goes to line up his whatever his finishing move is called.
Yeah, so he hit him with the DDT,
Yeah.
and then he went to go the finger guns thing, the spirit gun. Is it spirit gun? That sounds right.
Yeah, I
Spirit
think
gun.
so.
And Nana grabbed the robe, so he couldn't run with it. And then that's when Swerve got back on top and then hit all of his finishes, 2 house calls, and he kicked out.
Yeah.
Lost his mind.
You hit your this
You had to hit it twice.
the Swerve stomp finishes matches, and he hits it twice, and then Ricochet.
No, he hit the Swerve stomp, and then he hit 2 house calls, and then he kicked out. And then he picked him up and
Okay.
did the
Yeah.
big business or whatever the finisher is.
Yeah.
JML driver.
JML driver.
Took 3 finishes to put away Ricochet.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time we're going to complain about finishes being kicked
No.
out tonight.
But that was 18 minutes, same as the Mercedes match. So that was great. Then we move on to match 4 of the main card, which is for the Continental Championship between Brody King and Kushika Okada's Red Tomato Chest.
Oh, mate.
You want to pronounce that a little better?
Kazuchika
Kazuchika
Okada.
Okada.
Kazuchika.
Kazuchika.
Yeah, but I was more worried about his chest, all right? It was chopped to
Call
the
it tomato
shit.
chest then.
Yeah.
Tomato chest Okada got destroyed by
go.
Brody King in this.
Brody King was excellent in that match. Fucking slap after slap after slap.
Why was Brody King wearing pants?
Yeah,
That threw me for a loop when we were watching the
Yeah.
match. Just seeing Brody King wearing full pants rather than his usual trunks that he always wears to the ring.
It didn't
Did
look
not get
right.
it.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
Don't do it, Brody. You've got all those tattoos for a reason.
Yeah,
mate.
we
Show
want,
'em off.
we
show 'em
want
off,
to
man.
see the
Just show 'em
tattoos,
off.
Brody. Just show 'em.
This, again, super stiff match. I really think that this helps hopefully put over Brody King as a singles guy. But then again, the match that Okada had at Grand Slam with Buddy Matthews also helps put him over as a singles guy because both of the Hounds of Hell guys now have had really good matches with Okada.
yeah, just don't mention the ring.
Oh, the size of the ring and poor Buddy's ankle.
Yeah.
But like the spots on the outside where Brody sort of cross-bodied Okada into the barricade was brutal. A bunch of different chops and everything, and like every time Okada looked like he was getting back on top, Brody would just smack him straight back down.
Chop him right back down.
But this to me is how you tell the story that Mercedes was trying to tell in her match. In that you have the champion who hasn't really been defeated in a long period of time, fights from underneath, but calls everyone bitch and gives them the finger. So they have a bit of interaction with the audience.
A little more character as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that match sort of sells that more, and that like Okada's title run hasn't really been too in question. It's kind of the same as Mercedes hasn't.
Yeah.
But we're all sick of Mercedes because her matches all suck and there's been no real point where we think, at any point is she going to lose?
Yeah.
Whereas Okada has done enough in his matches and the quality of the people he's versing that you might believe he could lose. So I think there's way more investment in this continental title scene than there is in the women's. And that's, I think, a problem from AEW's perspective is how they're booking this is not strong from the women's side. But we've said that before, sadly.
Yeah. Just noting the finish of that match, Okada hit Brody with the belt after distracting with the chair.
Yep.
Brody kicks out, and then shortly after that, Rainmaker for the pinfall.
Look, I love Okada. I'm not a fan of his finisher. I never have been.
The Rainmaker?
Not at all. I've been watching him since he was in New Japan as well, and I've never been a fan of the Rainmaker.
I think when he was in New Japan, though, it was fine for the finish because he would have done 13 other moves beforehand.
Yeah.
Like a really long, great match. Whereas
Also, with New Japan, sorry.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of people that are doing closeslines.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's got more effect.
Yeah.
Whereas over in the States, everybody does a clothesline.
Yep.
Even
And everyone
just as
does
a standard move.
transition move.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So it's, I think it's, big fish in a smaller pond and small fish in a big pond kind of thing, the way that he's put.
Not trying to shit on Okada. Love Okada. Have for a long time. It's just I'm not a big fan of the Rainmaker.
Yep. No, it's fair.
Yeah.
And when you see the amount of damage that both of those guys put each other through
Yeah.
to finish with the clothesline, you're like,
Yeah.
is what it is.
Still, it was an excellent match.
Speaking of not excellent matches, the Hurt Business beat the Outrunners.
My note for this was there was not much in the match. Knee and a spear on both of the Outrunners to finish the match and get the pinfall.
Mate, Shelton's knee in the corner.
Oh,
They've been
was
getting
so
so much
good.
better in AEW. Like, they
Yeah.
pale in comparison to what he was doing in WWE.
it's because they're giving him more space to work.
I
He's
think
always,
he's
he's
just
always
being-
seen as a backup superstar to everybody else in WWE.
Yeah.
He's going out on his own and being able to do more on his own in AEW. And I do love to see that.
Yeah.
I'm glad this was only 8 minutes or 8.5 minutes because, I mean, anything more than that, I wasn't going to believe at any point the Outrunners were going to do anything.
Yeah.
It's fine. They got their couple of spots in. They did their bicep thing and their elbow drop and stuff. And they looked cool in the bit they did, but they were never beating the Hurt Syndicate. Don't even try and make me think
Bobby
that they
Lashley.
were. So that was
Yeah.
fine. It was probably a collision match that was on a pay-per-view just because you need to put your tag titles on there.
Good way to put it.
It was positioned perfectly on the card, to be honest.
Yep. That
Yeah.
too.
Unfortunately, the tag title match was the toilet break match.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it
because
did,
Mercedes went on too soon.
it did kind of give that little bit of breathing space for the crowd between Okada and Brody and the next match, which
Yes.
is Toni Storm versus Mariah May in the Hollywood ending match. No rules. Pinfalls count anywhere.
And they went straight for it.
Man,
Tony
didn't
rushed
that
us.
match start amazing?
I think the whole match for me, like apart from a couple of blading spots that we'll talk about, the whole match for
do you
me
mean blading?
kept me engaged the entire way. Like there was no point where I was like, oh, this is trash. Like I don't like this spot, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Except the pile driver on the stairs that we got, which
Yeah.
Instantly
I made the same complaint at All In last year when you get a pile driver, which is on the top of your head, and then you start bleeding from your forehead. Like, make it make sense, man. Come on.
That's all right. We'll touch on that a little bit later as well for this match.
Yeah.
That was the start. Obviously, there was the Bubba Bomb off the stage through a table straight away.
Yep.
Luther got thrown over a table that he should have probably gone through, but he didn't quite go through. But Mariah slipped on the what looked like a very slippery stage. And I thought she actually hurt herself.
It did look like she hurt herself right at the very start of that match, didn't it?
Yeah.
So that was always a bit messy because, you don't have the same grip on a tiled stage than you would in the ring and stuff.
Yep.
So, but it started hot and then it just rolled through from there. You obviously had all of the hardcore spots that they started to put in. So they had the chairs in the ring. Then they got in the buckets with the wine glasses and the shattered glass.
Yep. That was crazy.
There was a lot. With the point when they were both busted up and bleeding. How did Mariah bleed again?
It was when they did the glass knuckle spot.
Oh, she hit her in the chest. And
she got hit in the chest. The commentator said she got punched in the jaw, but she started bleeding from the forehead.
Look, AEW loves their blood. All right,
they really do.
I don't want to take away from
it.
this.
It really
match,
added to the theatrics of the match, which is what you needed as like the Hollywood ending match for this feud.
Yeah.
So I kind of get it, but
and it's just nitpicking.
Yeah,
going on about how the way that the blood went for Mariah May. Your match was amazing, start to finish.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's not going to take away from it at all.
Couple of pile drivers from both of them, lots of kickouts, the brutal violence of the whole thing. When they walked back up to the top for the end, there was still a precariously placed table in the middle of the shot. They were like, someone's
your big Hollywood sign painted on it.
Yep, someone's going through that.
Quite convenient that it was left up there from the start of the match.
And then, then they walked up on top of it and Storm Zero pile driver through it. 1, 2, 3. Toni wins.
Forgot the shoe came back into play as well.
The shoe did come back.
Which started this whole feud.
That was right towards the end when she just belted her with
stabbing the crap out of Mariah, and then that led to the Storm Zero through the table.
Yep.
And then after the match, we didn't see it, but I saw the photos of it on Twitter and stuff. The screens behind them when they were lying there bloody on the ground said
the end. Yeah, I did manage to see that at the top.
Yeah, and they changed it to
the fin part, but yeah.
Look, great way to end the feud. It truly was.
I think the only question that I had for you guys was, where does Mariah go from here? And that is a really good question. Hopefully,
if she goes for Mercedes, something has to happen.
Yeah,
that. We can't have another Mercedes conquers all.
Heel versus heel kind of thing. I think Mercedes needs a good feud against somebody, not like at the moment where she's just having 2 weeks. Oh, you're a really good wrestler. I'm a really good wrestler. Let's have a match at a pay-per-view in 2 weeks' time.
And I'm going to beat you.
Yeah, let's have a proper actual feud. And I think Mariah needs to step as far away from Toni Storm as she can.
Yep,
keep them apart. And maybe, shift her down a tier, I guess, into the mid-card title range and give her something in there. And even if it is something with her and, Willow or something, and they work up for a match against Mercedes, you've got other women to use. I guess the flip side to that coin then is, if we're saying Mariah needs to go away from Toni, who then steps up to face Toni?
That is a tough one.
That's a tough one because in terms of like big heel characters in AEW in the women's division, I don't think there are many that are going to be able to stack up against Toni, unless you have Athena.
Megan Bain probably. They've been giving her a lot of airtime.
Yeah, I guess. But
they could just do what's their reverse Royal Rumble Casino Gauntlet match to be a number one contender. And then that's probably how you get there. But yeah, this match was brutal, bloody, and fantastic. Even like the boys came and watched it with us, they were a little bit skeptical with the amount of blood that was there, and obviously when the ladies start sticky taping their hands to just put broken glass on it and punch John in the face, like they took it really far, and that was probably what was needed to end the feud. But my problem with this is that they did this on this Revolution card when another match later on is going to do the same thing. And I think that kind of takes some of the heat off of this match and the other match, because they've done it twice on the same thing. And this is something that we've read and we've seen a few times, is that AEW tends to not have production meetings where they all sit down and talk about the match card and everything that's happening on it. And you can see that clearly on Dynamite. Josh and I both pointed out a few times watching that that corner spot where Brody King smashed a Carter into the guardrail was the same spot that Mariah did to Toni, which was the same spot that MJF did to Hangman, which was the same spot that Momo did to Mercedes.
And Brady and Okada had it in there. It was in every single match. All of them.
And it seems like that they just haven't planned out how all the matches will work with each other. because they've done the same spot on 4 or 5 different matches. You've got this incredibly bloody glass everywhere, everyone's bleeding match. 2 matches before you get another incredibly bloody thumbtacks everywhere match. Like, it's fine, and I think I tweeted out that like this card and what AEW are doing today is definitely for the sickos, which is
I did happen to see that one, and I happen to agree.
Yeah, it's the target audience they had for it.
They're pandering to a certain kind of audience with this one.
Yeah, and it was the same. Was it last year? Everyone. Last year with Full Gear with the Hangman Swerve cage match.
Oh, with the blood and
the syringe and stuff. Like that was like a lot of people loved that match and was probably one of their favorite of the year. But then a lot of people were turned off by how brutal it was.
It was an excellent match. It's definitely not something I would let my kids sit down and watch with me.
Yeah.
Even though they do love the wrestlers.
This teetered on that line.
Yeah.
Not quite there, but very close.
Really close.
After that, we roll into Konosuke Takeshita defending his international championship. Shut up, 7 drinks down, Reece. Shut up. Against Kenny. 4? Is that all? That's really good.
Yeah,
that's good for him.
Kenny Omega.
And I had a bottle of water too.
Kenny Omega and Don Callis on commentary. We all know that means that he's going to get involved somehow
absolutely.
in the match. And
but on that note, he was definitely the highlight of the commentary table during that match, which is kind of sad that somebody coming in, accompanying somebody to a match is a highlight on the commentary table.
Was it the point
Don
where...
Callis every time he's on commentary, I reckon.
He's excellent.
Was it the point where I think Takeshita like hit Kenny in the stomach and they were like, oh, that's brutal. And he was just like, fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. He was enjoying it.
Which is what a good heel manager should do.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Kicking off the match.
Hang on. I just saw the times and I didn't actually click to this. Did you guys realize that the Toni Storm match was only 12 minutes?
Yeah, well,
it did seem to go really quick.
When I was thinking about it while I was watching it, I was like, this is a pretty quick match. Comparatively speaking.
They shoved a lot into 12 minutes.
But the thing was...
They did, and it was just constant. It was There wasn't a lot of downtime between their sequences and their spots. Yeah. Everything was well-paced and well-timed. That's what kept me engaged so much.
Yeah.
For a 12-minute match, there was just so much in there, and I didn't even keep track of any of the time for it. I was just invested in the match.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this one, Kenny went 28 and a half minutes.
28 and a half.
Big match.
And you said, like, we got to the end of the timeless Toni Storm match, and there was a suspected about an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes left in the pay-per-view schedule, and we're like, everything from here is getting about half an hour, and by the looks of it, everything got about half an hour.
Yeah, averaged out to about that.
Again, super hard-hitting match, but everything that Takeshita does is super hard-hitting. All of the V-triggers and elbows and everything. And I think that this match was probably a bit slower than some of the previous Kenny matches have been, but I think they built it to a crescendo, which was what they needed to do for this. Callis getting involved, holding his ankle and stuff, allowing Takeshita to sort of get on top in parts. Kenny working from under, but also like they very clearly made a very strong point about his diverticulitis and his stomach. And every move that he was getting hit on, he was getting hit in the stomach. Like they had the table set up on the outside.
That table spot.
And instead of having the table up the normal way, it had fallen over. So he just suplexed Kenny onto the flat, hard part of the table. That looked painful.
Yeah. I noticed they didn't really I don't remember them focusing on it too much at Grand Slam in Brisbane, but being a singles match for a championship, they really put the focus on that diverticulitis. Every blow to the gut was doing intense damage to Kenny as well.
Yeah, touching back to the table spot on the outside, after he got suplexed onto the flat table, then was picked up and put on the side. And he was dropped gut first straight onto it.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Like after all the damage he'd already received previously to his gut, having that hit.
He then dragged Kenny back in the ring and gave him several sentons as well.
Yeah.
Further damaging that gut.
It was, a great performance from Takeshita, but I would have to say every match that I've seen Takeshita defend this title has been a great match.
He doesn't falter.
Yeah.
Even the ones when he went to Maple Leaf Pro in Canada and versed, was it Mike Bailey?
Mike Bailey.
Yeah, it was.
What a match.
Like, he's such a phenomenal wrestler. And I really love the stories that they put forward with him and Kenny. How, years ago when Takeshita was like a 16-year-old in Japan wanting to learn how to do things, he was learning from Kenny.
Yeah.
They've had this long career together. Obviously, there was all the stuff 2 years ago where he beat Kenny twice in 10 days, first person to ever do it. Like, there's a lot of storyline behind this. And then this match was brilliant. Apart from...
Let's talk about the finishing. It's all right. Don't get there.
It's all right.
Roll up.
Fucking roll up.
Hey, we called it. There was going to be a match.
28 minutes of Kenny Omega and Takeshita beating the shit out of each other, and you roll them up.
And this was after we got a springboard sunset powerbomb to Takeshita. We had a tombstone by Takeshita to Kenny Omega into his package tombstone that he does.
Yep.
Kenny
You mean they
kicks
didn't
out.
finish the match?
No, they didn't finish the match. I was surprised.
Okay.
You would think that it would normally.
Kenny never
then there
hit
was, like-
the one-winged angel,
No.
which
He
was
kept going
surprising.
for it.
Kept going for it, but his stomach couldn't handle picking him up.
Yep.
And then, Takeshita goes to roll up Kenny in a crucifix. Kenny reverses it into another crucifix, and then you get the 1, 2, 3. And it was just like they were building to something. And this is exactly what Toni Storm versus Mariah May felt like at Grand Slam.
Absolutely.
They were building to something amazing and an incredible finish, and then roll up, done. And
So
it just
this
sucks the life out
This
of it.
leads then to a rematch for a hardcore match between Takeshita and Omega, and they smash wine bottles over each other's faces. Is that what you're telling me? Yeah.
Right up their cooch.
Excellent.
Oh, that spot. Yeah.
Wine bottles.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that.
We did forget to
Wine
mention the
bottle
wine
up
bottle up the coach.
Look, this was really good. I like that Kenny has won the title. I think that Takeshita has been brilliant with it, like I just said. But Kenny having it is good. The rumor on the internet, if you want to listen to it, is that they are looking to get rid of some of the belts in AEW because they have too many. Shock horror. So maybe a merging of the international, which is what Kenny just won, and the continental, which Okada has.
Into the Intercontinental.
AEW Intercontinental title. I like it.
But I mean,
Done.
Kenny and Okada sign me up. If we get that.
Absolutely.
I've seen it a dozen times. Bring me a dozen more. Don't care. Happy to see it.
I just really, like you said, hollow after a roll-up victory.
Yeah. Well, it was a terrible end, but at the same time, I'm happy to see Kenny win the title because he's going to elevate it that little bit more than Takeshita was able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Next,
Then we bring down a steel cage.
the steel cage match between Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. And didn't they get quite the spectacle of an entrance?
And
This was my match of the night.
Absolutely.
Hands down.
Great
Hands
entrances
down.
both, but I do want to call out, and this I'll take my flowers for this
All right.
one.
We're giving Dan his flowers too.
Go for
This
it.
can be fully verified from those that were in attendance. As soon as the cage came down and then Fletcher climbed to the top, I said, "Oh, okay, so they're going to do a Spanish fly off the top of the cage, are they?"
And what happened? What
Literally,
happened? I got it on
very
video.
start of the
It's
match.
up on TikTok.
It wasn't
Go
even
check
the
it
start of the match. It was during Kyle Fletcher's entrance. You called it.
Yeah.
The second he climbed up there, rather than go
Will
into the
even
ring.
went
Yep.
Crazy.
Called it straight
And then
away.
happened.
You're welcome. This was brutal, and I'm very glad that this is, I assume, the end of their feud for the moment. Bring it back in 12 months' time or something.
Yeah.
I
Give them some
think
time
they
away.
need to take a little bit of a break from each other.
Yeah,
I think
agreed.
that's a bit of a nail in the coffin, per se, for now.
Yep. The syringe in the mouth, if you will.
No.
No?
No.
Too far? Okay.
Thumbtacks in the stomach, maybe.
Yeah, the thumbtacks.
Jesus
This
Christ.
Look, this was brutal. Will bladed really early, or
And like Will does, he bladed pretty deep and
too
he was
much.
just dripping blood for the entire
It was
match.
giving me some Ric Flair flashbacks. Like,
absolutely.
seriously.
Absolutely.
The amount that was there.
and I think that the concern from the ref, the amount of times he went to check on him to be like, "Are you all right? Like, do we
Will's
just
just
Yeah.
like,
eyes?
I'm fine.
Like,
It-
I can't
He
see."
can blade and lose a bunch of blood and then 5 minutes later still perfectly hit that standing corkscrew moonsault.
Oh, that was
Ridiculous.
beautiful.
Look, there's a reason that Ospreay's the best wrestler in the world right now. Like,
Hands down.
and the way that he has elevated Fletcher with him has been fantastic. Because Fletcher, I mean, 2 years ago, he was the smaller dude in the Aussie Open tag team.
Yep.
And then he was the forgotten guy as part of the Callis family. And
Yep.
now he is
Yeah,
a
he's the
genuine
proto star,
He's-
Kyle
yeah.
Fletcher.
Like, you wouldn't even compare him to Mark Davies anymore.
No,
He's
not even
head and
close.
shoulders above him there.
He's come into his own over the
He
last
really
12
has,
months.
and it's great to see.
Yeah, especially as Australians. Absolutely love
Yeah.
him.
Yep.
Much love.
One thing I
What
do
are the
want
spots,
to
Reece?
before we touch on the match too much, the stare down when they were both on top of the cage.
Wasn't
they were
that
at opposite
cinematic?
Corners. Love that. A note that they mentioned on commentary, Kyle Fletcher was wearing the kick pads from their previous singles match where
Still had the blood on it?
Ospreay bladed the white kick pads. They were still stained with Ospreay's blood as well.
Yeah, they were
And got
kinda
even
dull.
more stained during this match.
I mean, that all of the theatre and drama around this was so good. If you actually watched Collision, which I didn't, but I did watch the YouTube clips of it, there was a very, very good Will Ospreay promo where he cuts on Fletcher and stuff, getting super emotional and just telling him that, you were trying to end my career, trying to end this, but I'm going to end you. all the stuff going back to, the Aussie Open, to United Empire, to everything that they've done together, like how, they lived together. You used to help me drop my son at school. Like, we were so close, and now look at what we're doing and, like, what you've done to me. The amount of emotion they put into this feud is phenomenal, and you want to go and have a talk about the stuff that Triple H said about Ospreay a couple of years ago, that he wasn't ready for the grind. And Ospreay had his podcast interview with CBV where he kind of shot back at it, but not really shot back at it, but kind of just said that, I have my life and I want to stay in England, and that wasn't really an option for him, which is fine.
Yep.
But one of the criticisms that a lot of people had back then when he didn't sign with WWE was that I can't cut a promo anyway. He wouldn't fit in WWE. He'd be no good. I think we're all wrong, because in between the ropes, he's the best wrestler in the ring, and his promo ability has gotten tenfold better. When he first signed with AEW, it was a lot of, I'll fight you, bruv. Let's go, bruv. Let's go, bruv.
Yep.
Now, so much better.
Yeah.
See, I think the issue with the WWE audience is he speaks English, not American English. They wouldn't be able to understand him anyway.
You speak too fast. Cheeky Nando's.
Yeah.
What's a cheeky Nando's? What are you talking about?
They got no idea. Do they really not have Nando's in America?
There's like one, I think.
Yeah.
There's like one in Chicago and one somewhere else.
Yeah, it's weird.
You're missing out.
Yeah.
Nando's
is top quality.
All right, let's touch on some spots before we get to the finish of the match, which
Yeah.
was...
So I hope you took notes, because so
intense.
much stuff happened in this match that I can't remember all of it.
I took a fair bit of notes. We got a really big last ride from Kyle Fletcher to Ospreay, with Ospreay landing like right on the top of his shoulders and his neck. That looked absolutely brutal. When they had both bladed already and they're covered in blood, they were exchanging kicks with the kick pads to the head.
Oh, yep.
Nice dueling kicks there. We had the United Empire wristband come into play as Ospreay is about to smash Kyle Fletcher across the face with the barbed wire baseball bat, which was brought in by Mark Davis. He came down to interfere at one point and got taken out very swiftly, but he brought the bag that had the barbed wire baseball bat and a sack of thumbtacks in it as well.
But he also bladed very quickly from one shot of the steel door on his face. And my God, Mark's bleeding too.
Everybody involved had to bleed in the match.
He popped back up to stop one of the pinfall attempts from Ospreay, and Dan was like, why is he bleeding? He only got hit by the cage door.
Why was the cameraman that was hiding in the corner not bleeding? He was against the cage the whole time.
There was a point where Kyle Fletcher was trying to escape the cage and managed to somehow find a screwdriver up in the scaffolding
Very
of the
conveniently
cage.
placed.
Very conveniently placed.
Screams Don Callis.
And that vicious stabs from the both of them to each other.
Yeah.
And like, I know when they first introduced the whole screwdriver angle, they tuck it very far into their fist, so it didn't really make too much of an impact. But that first shot from Kyle Fletcher, there was about a good inch of that screwdriver showing, and it went straight in the top of Ospreay's head.
Yep.
Absolutely crazy.
And then obviously there was a couple of shots, but then when he missed the one and he went straight into the turnbuckle pad,
Straight into the pad.
right in, and like that proved to everybody like he wasn't holding back when he was swinging this.
So
And it wasn't
get out
it
of
wasn't
there.
a gimmick screwdriver
Yeah.
either.
Yeah. He even stabbed Ospreay in the rib at one point.
Oh,
Yeah, he tried to shank him.
And then on top of the cage, when Ospreay gets it and then stabs him with it and throws it down and it bounces into the crowd, I was like,
I think he was trying to do his little trick shot where he managed to get it to stab into the...
he did not. He did
the
not.
padding
no.
on the outside.
He hit
That
Ken
looked
Jong
again.
in the front row.
We then move on, Brainbuster on the chair by Kyle Fletcher. They then brought out the thumbtacks. And we got a Styles clash
Oh, yeah. I forgot about
to
that.
Kyle Fletcher on
Yep.
the thumbtacks, which is...
Face first.
I don't think they've really done any
That's the thing.
thumbtacks that are
It wasn't even face first. It was gut and below.
dick face.
He got thumbtacks in his dick.
I mean, the last thumbtack spot they did was Chris Statlander doing the splits on it.
Yeah.
That'd
Yep.
be the last one, right? So
You don't really get those like
pretty brutal.
front first
No.
thumbtack bumps. It's usually the back. Everyone takes it in the back, maybe a head.
Everyone takes it in the back.
We got to that massive Spanish fly spot off the top of the cage.
Yep.
Hidden blade and the tiger driver for the win.
I think Ospreay might have hurt himself. The way that he did that Spanish fly kind of
Yeah.
more like a hip toss, and he definitely landed on his hip. So he was hobbling out afterwards. I hope he's not properly injured. But that was a brutal spot. But like I was saying to you, like you're like, nah, they're not doing that. I was like, mate, this is Ospreay's first ever steel cage match, and he said that on one of his promo. He's never had a steel cage match before. This is his first one. I was like, he's absolutely doing something stupid off the top of it.
Yep.
There's no way he's never done a cage match before, and he's not doing something.
Yeah, Spanish Fly happens to be one of the stupidest things you can do off the top of the cage, but it looks amazing.
Oh, it looked incredible.
Yeah, especially after you saw that clip you guys saw on Instagram of the dude in Mexico where the ropes broke.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, no.
If you haven't seen that, try and avoid looking at it because it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
He goes to do Spanish Fly off the top rope.
Yeah.
The top rope snaps, and as they're doing the backflip, this guy lands straight on the top of his head, neck bends.
And I mean, he could be
The
paralyzed.
way that it shouldn't.
He could be paralyzed. So thoughts obviously go out to him because you
Yeah.
don't want to see those kind of accidents in pro wrestling. But it is a risky sport at the best of times.
Yep.
To see that happen days ago and go around the internet and Ospreay be like, no, I'll still do it.
That's fine.
It's fine.
We
Why
got
not?
this. It's fine.
Let's do it.
The skill, man. They are so talented, these two guys.
All right. Before we move on to the final match for the night,
Yeah.
harping back onto what we talked about with Swerve and Hangman with their cage match, Kyle Fletcher constantly licking Ospreay's blood through the match.
Jesus.
And the fact that he
It's
was
not
licking,
necessary.
he then went and licked the cage.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was the first part. He licked the cage where
And then
Ospreay had been bleeding.
Wiped Ospreay's blood and licked that. And
Yeah.
Ospreay did the same with Fletcher's
Yeah.
blood.
And-
Guys, come on.
Fletcher did it again with the bloody screwdriver after he hit Ospreay in the head with it and put it in his mouth and sucked on it.
What are you guys-
Why?
Why? Because poor Sky Blue's going to get chlamydia now. That's why.
Yeah, I know.
Poor Sky Blue.
Yeah.
Does
Feel bad.
anybody please think of the children?
They clearly won't.
That to me is like you said, that we were talking about that line that you sort of have to
Kinda
cross in these
deviates
kind of
off it.
matches. That to me is a bit much. Like where you've got all the blood everywhere, and like it's okay when like The Rock in
you do
WWE.
that.
Oh, gets it.
Do the
puts it on
chest
the
wipe,
chest.
dude.
Yeah,
Perfectly
or you put it on
fine.
the
Is that
belt
not
or-
hardcore enough these days?
No, you got to lick it.
Jesus.
You got to lick
Gotta
it.
drink their
Have to
blood.
ingest it.
Oh, just creepy.
I just needed to.
Again, doesn't take away from the match.
No, not at all.
no.
The match was brilliant.
But yeah, just there's a line, and you sometimes don't have to cross it, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to that main event. John Moxley versus Cope.
Look, they had the unfortunate task of having to follow Fletcher and Ospreay after that cage match.
4 hours into a pay per view.
Yep.
Or actually 5 hours if you count the 5.5 hours if you count the Zero show.
Which, while we were watching the match, I did happen to point out there was people in the crowd yawning and looking like they were ready to fall asleep at the start of the match.
We
too.
were at it. It was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon for us at the time.
It would have been midnight for them watching it, I reckon.
Yeah, about
And,
that.
Yeah, it's a bit rough.
Like,
It wasn't even that late at Grand Slam.
what did
for
we
us.
have at Grand Slam? It was about 4 hours.
Yeah, but that was between a 2-hour Ring of Honor taping
And then-
and a 2-hour collision.
Yeah. Whereas this is a full 4 hour show plus the pre show.
Yeah.
So like you're in the building
Yeah.
for 7 hours
Yep.
by this point of the night. And I would have to say that I think you've peaked pretty highly at Kenny Omega winning a championship and then a brutal cage match for 30 minutes.
And then you drag on this main event for 26 minutes.
And I mean, the point we want to again take pride in, you can see the chair that we've got behind Josh over there where we went to Grand Slam. The crowd singing Cope's entrance song.
Yep.
In Australia, I think that clip has gone viral. It's been everywhere. It is the best crowd singing of Metalingus ever. They tried tonight.
Oh, they fell apart pretty easily, didn't they?
It didn't quite hit the same strides that it did for Australia. And there were points where it was very out of time as well. So
It was. The only other thing that just made me remember me it was the entrance for Swerve
Yep.
earlier in the night. where they had the drummer.
the drummer.
The drummer.
What were they thinking? Why?
That was
what was the
so
significance? Because
bad.
I don't
Not
remember
only-
the commentary team mentioning who that guy was
Yeah.
and why he was there.
But not only that, you could barely hear his music over the drums.
Yeah.
You couldn't
And
hear
the drums
anything.
were out of time.
Yeah.
It was bad. Don't do it again, Swerve. Sorry. Like I get you want to try and have these big spectacle type matches and you want to get entrances and stuff involved. The way that I think Fletcher and Ospreay did it better, where they had like a voice thing at the start of their actual song,
Yep,
whereas like,
agreed.
and then Ospreay had this trance dance entrance thing in a video package.
I was
The
like,
dubstep.
this is
The
It was just
dubstep.
like a clip of Ospreay speaking, and then I was like, "Oh, this is trash."
Yeah.
And then
New
it like
music.
started getting all like
It was dubstep.
tweaked with, and then the dubstep kicked in, and I was like, "Yeah,
That's
get
the way that
stank
you do
face
it.
going."
You don't need.
Exactly.
You don't need to have some random drummer
Yeah.
where you can't hear your entrance music over the top.
and it's really difficult doing that stuff live. Like you've
It
even
is.
seen WWE with WrestleMania entrances where they try and put live music
Yeah.
to it. It
Yeah.
doesn't always work out. So that was a bit rough. But congratulations to the LA crowd for trying with the Cope entrance. You gave it a red hot crack.
Yep.
But I think I'll comfortably say us as an Australian crowd did it better.
Yeah.
Happy to agree.
Eat shit. I didn't take a lot of notes for this match because I think I can speak for all of us when I say we were all pretty disinterested to some level in this match.
I wouldn't say disinterested. I think, to me, the way that I would compare this would have been to a Roman Reigns bloodline match that you had in the WWE for the last few years. I was waiting for the Death
to get
Riders
into
and
it.
Christian or someone to show
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
Up until that point, I didn't care because I know this was not finishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Good
So
way
it kind
to
of
describe
meant the first 15 minutes or so I was not interested, and then there was the ref bump, and I was like, all right, here we go.
Wheeler Yuta comes out.
Now's the start.
Yep.
He's lining up because John Moxley and Edge
They're popping up at the exact same
popping
time.
up at the exact same time, and he's looking at Moxley like Wheeler Yuta's going to turn, and he gets Cope. And then Switchblade comes out
Yep.
because they're trying to take out Cope. He takes Wheeler Yuta out of the equation.
They just brawl backstage. Waste of everybody's time.
Cope hits a spear, gets up, hits a second spear on Moxley, and we're like, this is it. Moxley's losing the championship. Cope, it's your brand new champion. But
The
no.
referee crawls in.
1, 2.
It's way slower than that. 2.
I think it's even slower than that.
Oh, and he kicked out.
Oh, that's right. He kicked out first, and
Yeah.
then the pin shortly after. The ref gets pulled out of the ring just before he hits the 3 count for Cope.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who's that? Who's that? D Hoods, and it's Christian. Now, months ago, we pitched this where Cope would win the championship, Christian would sign his contract, cash in, and dethrone Edge immediately.
And the
We
dickhead didn't
almost
wait.
had that.
He didn't wait.
We didn't wait.
No.
We almost had that.
We wanted it.
We wanted it, and we didn't get it. Christian hits the spear. Cope kicks out. I'm flip-flopping between Cope and Edge.
You pick whichever one you want. It's fine.
Yeah, just call him Adam.
Yeah. As long as you're not saying Moxley, we know who you're talking about.
Yep.
Adam
Adam then
kicks out.
was trying to pin Ambrose.
No. No, I see what you're doing.
What? No, who's that?
Christian hits the unprettier, and that's when John Moxley comes back in, gets him in the Bulldog choke.
Now,
And it was at that point that we're like, shit,
Yep.
this is how it finishes. But no, Christian, being the genius, take it away,
all right.
because I believe you want to talk about this.
Yep. So Christian places his hand on top of Edge,
While he's
goes
getting
for the
choked
pin
out.
while he's getting choked out to try to win that title.
So good.
So smart. If he
Yeah.
had won the title that way,
I would have preferred it.
I would have.
That would have been
amazed.
excellent.
That
Genius
should have been the
booking.
finish.
Yep.
But no, Moxley just drags him away, and then we have Christian passing out when he was literally the freshest dude in the match.
And he gets taken out by
He
one
had
move.
no moves against him done whatsoever.
No, just the bulldog choke.
Just
That's
a
it.
bulldog choke, and then the match is done.
Yeah, look, that's
Come on, man.
they booked themselves into a corner.
Yep, they teased us with it.
Yeah.
Didn't like how this panned out.
Yeah.
I think Christian looks like an idiot. The fact that you had Edge spearing Moxley twice, you could have gone 1, 2, 3. You could have let Edge win,
Yep.
right? And then you just run behind him, smack him with the briefcase, cash in, and just straight on top of him. You've got no Moxley then involved to stop you.
Yeah.
Because you doing it during the match makes it a 3-way, which makes it no DQ, which makes Moxley involved in the finish. Christian just waited a minute. And he comes in and he smacks him with the briefcase, he signs his little contract, he then hits him with the kill switch. 1, 2, 3, Christian's your new champion.
Would have
But
loved to
no.
have seen it.
Yeah. No.
No.
Josh
Moxley
did
retained.
mention before the pay-per-view even started that he could see John Moxley retaining tonight. Not
that
quite in the way.
the way that I would have loved to have seen that happen is Moxley retained with zero interference.
Yeah.
Proving that he didn't need anybody else to help him keep that title.
Yeah.
Which he kind of did, because now he can kind of say that I beat Cope and Christian
True.
Yeah.
without anybody helping me, because Wheeler didn't really help with the finish.
No, not at
Just
all.
kicked.
Him in the kicked
The
Edge in the
cyclone
head,
knee
got
once,
taken out
boom.
straight away.
But
that
I'm
was it.
just kind of done with Moxley holding this title hostage
Well-
in a suitcase. But I think now
Well-
from what happened post-match,
Yeah.
Yes. And Moxley's heading out through the crowd like he usually does. He heads out to his exit,
And
probably too early. He starts coming back, gets all involved in the crowd, and then heads back out. Prince Nana comes out to confront him. And he's just putting up the finger. Number 1 contender.
Yep.
Coming for you. Security comes out, starts separating them. Mox puts his briefcase down, and then it was at that point they were just holding that camera just below where the barricade was, and I was like, Swerve's doing a swerve stomp. It wasn't.
It wasn't where we thought it was.
Off to the side where the stairs were, but we got that swerve stomp to Mox and all the security guards as well.
Yeah.
And I think it was at that point I was like, this is putting Swerve on that pedestal again, and I think he's going to get that championship.
Well, the second he did it, and then his music hits, and it's whose house? And the whole crowd.
Swerve's house.
Everybody. So I think everyone is heavily invested in Swerve again. I mean, we all were for the last 12 months. Like, no point I think of not being invested in Swerve. But I think now's the point that, you want to get your big babyface Swerve over. You get him to win the title. You get him to beat Moxley. You can have Edge and Christian have their own feud away from the title. I guess that would probably be the problem with our booking of it, is that the Edge and Christian feud would then have to have been for the AEW title, and I don't know if we want that. So this means that you get the title away from them. You can put the title on Swerve, assuming that he beats Moxley, and you can still get Cope and Christian having their own little blood feud all the way to All In together. And hopefully then they work out that, they were better together as friends and patch it up and become a tag team, and then they beat the Hurt Business. And they win the AEW tag team titles.
You heard it here first, down under the mat.
Probably not.
Look.
Throw it out there, why not?
We can dream.
It's a dream scenario.
If the Hardys can have the TNA tag titles, Edge and Christian can be the AEW.
If only Devon Dudley was fit enough.
I know, right?
The Bubba and Devon tag champs on Raw. And then you've got the Attitude Era.
That fits more in
holding
NXT.
tag titles across 3 different promotions.
Yeah, I can't see that happening.
Nah.
Yeah.
Bubba's
ready to go.
I think he's had his time in the ring.
He can still go.
Devon can't.
Yeah.
Devon's done.
Sorry,
Devon's done.
Devon's way past his time, and he's already come out and admitted that.
The match he had in TNA last year was, not great. Poor guy. His knees aren't up for it. So, I mean, look, I hope Cope and Christian do have a good feud, and I think that's probably. He's obviously Copes can have the craps that Christian cost him the title, took his opportunity away from him, that they're going to feud. And I think Moxley,
doesn't take
like
much
you
to
said,
build that story.
Nah. And like Moxley, like you said, Josh needs to prove that he can say I beat Christian and I beat Cope on the same night. I don't need.
He's definitely going to use it.
He's got to. He's got to.
But then Swerve's got to beat him. Just
look, they got to strike while it's hot. Swerve's got to win the title.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's Dynasty, I think, April 6th. So we've got just under a month away from the next pay-per-view, and then you sort of roll into your all-in season for them post WWE's WrestleMania. So I think that maybe if I'm AEW, I probably want to make a big statement based off what WWE has been doing lately, and putting Swerve as the champion and doing a couple of big swerves, I guess, on your shows will get some more eyes on the product, because you're going to need it. In the next couple of weeks, you've got a heel John Cena that's going to be stomping your ratings right into the ground. That's just me, though.
No,
look, you're not wrong.
You raise a good point. Like,
you're not wrong.
We're going to have John Cena a couple of weeks on WWE television, first appearance after Elimination Chamber, and I think that's going to get a lot of eyeballs on the WWE product to see how that unfolds and how that's going to lead into the match with Cody at WrestleMania.
Yep, and I think AEW has got to focus on what they do well, which is the in-ring stuff.
Yeah.
I think you probably need to have Ospreay and Fletcher off TV for a couple of weeks. You have to sell this match properly, because I think that was one of my biggest gripes when they did that Hangman Swerve match, was that a week later Swerve showed up on Dynamite. No. Like Fletcher, I don't want to see him until after the pay-per-view, like the next pay-per-view. He needs a break. Take him off TV for a while. Ospreay, sure, he can cut some promos that he's broken, but maybe have a match Dynasty, but like you need to sell what this pay-per-view was. It's the same with Mariah and Toni. Like,
here's an idea for you. Because we've got Daniel Garcia and Adam Cole brewing.
Yeah.
I assume that match will happen at Dynasty for the title.
Probably.
Sure. Daniel Garcia retains. Who comes out after the match to attack him and try and assert himself in the mid-card scene? Smile Fletcher.
I was going to say Speedball Mike Bailey, but sure.
No, look, I think Fletcher's definitely due.
I think he's due a championship.
Even a mid-card title.
Yeah,
I think he's due.
I think that at the moment, Fletcher's still under the whim of the Don Callis family. So unless Don Callis makes that decision and that's something that the family goes after, if the family haven't done anything with Garcia, it won't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make a good point there.
So, I mean, maybe they change their perception to it, because you've obviously just had Takeshita lose to Kenny.
Yep.
You had Fletcher just lose to Ospreay. They need to work themselves back into it. Maybe they realise we need to go back into it down a step and take out Garcia. Who knows?
You're saying the TNT title is below the international title?
It wasn't even defended, and the guy was in an 8-man tag on the pre-show. So yes, that is exactly what I'm saying.
Like that was their first
the first mid-card title.
According to Cody, it's not a mid-card title.
It's a mid-card title.
It's definitely.
It's a mid-card title.
Well, like, that was their first ever mid-card title.
Mid-card titles.
That's
too much.
Too many.
Like they haven't really done anything. Like Daniel Garcia had a match with Lee Moriarty for the title.
So did Robbie Eagles.
That was for the Ring of Honor Pure title. I mean, for the TNT title. Since Daniel Garcia has won it, I've seen it about twice. I've not seen him do much.
I've seen him. He's been on Collision. I haven't.
So he's basically held the title hostage like Shinsuke did with the United States title.
And Cody did with his 6 defenses in 12 months.
Yes.
We'll save that for another podcast, shall we?
Yes, we will. We're going to wrap it up.
Before we wrap it up, go through what do you reckon your star ratings for the matches are quickly, so we can sort of get
for the matches
votes
individually
before Meltzer does.
Oh, okay.
All right. Can we skip 0 out?
Absolutely can.
Yeah.
All right.
Hangman MJF
3.5.
3.75.
I reckon he gives that at least 4.
Yeah, he will give it 4.
Mercedes Momo
2.5.
I reckon that's a 3.5 star. Swerve Ricochet
I'll give that a 4.
Yeah, 4.5.
I'll say 4.5. Yep, I'm with you. Okada King
I'll go 4 for that again.
I'll go 4.5. Hurt Syndicate
3.5.
Oh, mate,
1.5.
2.25. He doesn't care about that at all. Toni Storm, Mariah May.
5.
I'm going to give that 4.75.
I think 4.75. I don't reckon he gives it 5 stars. I reckon it's really.
I feel like it was too quick for Dave Meltzer to give that 5 stars.
Yeah, actually, that makes a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because usually he loves these like long, drawn out matches with lots of big spots.
Kenny and Takeshita. I don't think he gives that 5.
Nah, I'll go
4.25.
I reckon that's 4.5.
Yep.
Ospreay Fletcher.
6.
5.5.
You know what Meltzer's like.
I reckon
It's Ospreay. He's going to give it.
He's going to get 5 stars at least.
Yeah, at minimum.
But like that was the thing about that cage match. It was very slow paced for an Ospreay match.
Yeah.
It was, but it told such a good story from start to finish.
I reckon it's 5.5. I'll go right in the middle.
I'm going with 6.
And then Moxley versus Cope
Moxley.
and Cage.
2.5.
3.25.
Yeah, 3.5.
I think it was kind of mid.
I think in terms
just
of
above mid-league.
what we saw on the talent on this card and the matches that we got, I think it's a good pay-per-view. Like, go watch the matches.
Yeah,
good pay-per-view.
start to finish.
I don't think there are any matches where it's just like you must see this, except for that cage match.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
not
like
a bunch of
that cage
5-star
match was definitely the match of the night. Easily.
And that and Tony.
Yeah.
Watch those
that
2
one as
matches. If you can stomach blood.
MJF Hangman as well. Let's not
Yeah,
pass that
always.
up.
And Swerve.
always.
Swerve
And
and
Swerve.
Swerve.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so there was a lot of good matches on the card.
There was a lot of good matches. We're going to wrap it up there. Thank you for tuning in Down Under the Mat. This has been Mr. Dan Danielson. Special guest, Viking Experience himself, Josh. I've been Roddy Reece. If you're watching, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on all our social media platforms, and we will see you next time Down Under the Mat. Too sweet. 3-person one. Woo!